Oh, yes. That's right.
It's that time again, people.
I can feel it down in my blood. You are watching the Sports Porch Black and Gold Edition. Thank you for being here. We are live all over the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and the Gram. We are live on the Gram. Yes, we are.
We're back on the Gram.
We're back on the Gram.
What up, Grammy?
What up, Gram? And, of course, as you can see in the ticker, you can catch the Sports Porch podcast. We drop it after every single show. After every single show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. There you go. This is the Sports Porch Black and Gold Edition. And on our radio station, yes, you can. We have a radio station. It's called Radio PGH. You can find it at radiopgh.com. It's got some interesting content I'm spinning up. And I'm going to put that comment right there. You can stream it live anytime you want. Radio PGH, Pittsburgh's best, first, only, and most wonderful and incredible internet radio station. What do you guys say to that?
Dedicated to Pittsburgh.
There it is.
What could be better?
I said, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you said that a lot during the New Year's Eve show, too.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. So anyway, what do we do here on the porch? Yes, well, of course, it's the Black and Gold Edition. So as anybody who is a Pittsburgh fan or follower knows, we probably talk about sports. And we're going to do that. We're going to talk Steelers preseason. We're going to talk about the state of the Pirates. I don't know if Hockey Jesus over here in front of me has any hockey stuff he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
maybe?
I got some things I want to talk about regarding the Chris Letang situation.
Oh, yes. Obviously, there is some sort of rumor mill flowing there. The Grand Schwabini may have a prediction for us. Maybe.
I may or may not.
Yeah.
Find out and see.
We're going to stump the Enzer. We're going to talk about things we're watching. And, of course, we do have a Trader Joe's snack time that we're going to get to. So let's dive.
My favorite segment.
Let's dive right in. Let's talk about the Buccos. And we were doing a show. We do a show for Philadelphia as well. If you want to catch that, the Sports Porch Philadelphia for any Phillies fans out there, Philly fans or whatever. And the Schwaber was doing with his buddy something unique, I think, who is currently irreplaceable on a Philadelphia team. So while we were prepping for the show, I thought to myself, well, we know the Buccos season is over, right?
Yeah.
I mean, would you argue that point with me?
I would not.
All right.
I would not argue that.
Yeah. Yeah. So their season is over. And, you know, I wanted to do the same thing, but I'm not going to do a top 10.
But we can't do it right now because we really didn't prepare for it.
Well, no, I just off the top of your head, because look, the team is in shambles. We can have this discussion until the cows come home, if that's a thing. And what I want to know from you guys off the top of your head, are there any let's take Paul Skeens off the list. Okay.
Well, he's the obvious one.
But he's not been there long enough. You know, he's he could come up next year and not be the Paul Skeens we saw this year. That happens all the time in professional sports.
It's unlikely.
Right. So, but who's irreplaceable? Is there anybody on this team other than Paul Skeens that is irreplaceable?
Sure.
That you'd say we got to go into next year. We got to have this guy. Because I would start from scratch. Go ahead, HJ.
Well, here's the deal. You have to recognize what you're dealing with. You're dealing with the Pirates. So it's not like they can just replace all their players with more players that are better, because they could replace basically the whole team except for Skeens in that reason. Well, here's the envelope that I'm working inside.
Okay.
It is if you replace them, you have to be realistic on who you can replace them with. Like, for example, I just can't say, well, I want to get Manny Machado and I'm going to get rid of Cruz, right? You can't do that. That's not realistic. So of the people that are left, who wouldn't you replace? And for me, clearly, since Skeens is already off the table,
right,
you have to go with Brian Reynolds. I mean, he's 1B when it comes to hitting. He's the hitter to Paul Skeens pitching.
Right.
He's definitely a major league hitter. He's good enough in the field, and I don't think he would be somebody you would want to replace.
Okay, so Brian Reynolds is irreplaceable.
Brian Reynolds would be on my list of irreplaceable Pirates.
So since you seem to be in a very confined space right now in your head, what I meant was let's not think about well, you would have to, be realistic about who you would replace him with and all. Just who's irreplaceable. Look, period.
That would be it.
Everything is on the table.
He would be the only one.
All right.
He would be the only one.
Right.
If everything was on the table and I could replace them with real Major League Baseball players,
right,
then I would say he would be the only one I would keep.
Okay, Schwaber, same feelings?
No, I would say Paul Skeens is the only one I would keep.
Period. Even though we took him off the table. You'd wipe the slate clean.
Not that Brian Reynolds isn't a good player.
Right.
He's a good player.
Right.
Certainly be on the team.
Right.
But would I say I absolutely have to have him? No.
Right.
There you go.
I literally, I hate saying this, but I would say it's a toss up between O'Neill Cruz and Joey Bart. Well, Joey Bart's in the top 10 in a lot of offensive categories.
Let me ask you this. Why is it that you're so quick to say that the phenom Skeens, we don't know what he's going to do next year, but yet we've had a half a season of Joey Bart with his only good baseball in his career and you're sold? No,
what I said is we take Skeens off the table. We acknowledge acknowledge that he is 100% irreplaceable. So after him, who is irreplaceable? And for me, it's a toss-up between O'Neill Cruz and Joey Bart. And I know some people are going to think I'm nuts by saying Joey Bart. By
the way, I thought about O'Neill Cruz, but I wouldn't play him as a shortstop.
Right. And they're talking about that. Yeah. So Chris Chata on Instagram says Cruz is a weird case. He looks horrendous for a game or two. Then you see flashes of something incredible. I don't think they'd trade him. Right. CD chimes in and says, I think Pittsburgh has figured out the Pirates. It's not about winning. It's about enough interest to make money and owners raking in league cash. Yeah, we do realize that.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying that I wouldn't make Reynolds irreplaceable is that Reynolds is a serviceable major league player. I mean, right. He's a little above average sometimes. He's a little below average other times. You hope that he finishes the year slightly above average. Did you disagree with that, Schwaber?
Every winning team has a Brian Reynolds on their team.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Right. So Cruz is...
That's why I would keep him.
Cruz is the upside. Right. And Bart is...
Hitting wise.
Yes. And Bart is... who they thought they were getting when they drafted Henry Davis and Endy Rodriguez. And I think Bart should be the everyday catcher. I think we've seen enough of a sample size for him now and given his pedigree that we don't need Henry Davis. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Henry Davis.
I do like Bart, but I think you've got a much greater chance of Bart not being this year's Bart next year.
It's possible.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But they're not going to give Henry Davis a chance, so he's probably your best second chance.
The doctor chimes in and says he's more interested in the Little League World Series. Well, that's because you live in Hershey, too. Yeah. So
he's pretty close to that.
Yeah, he's out closer to him. So
either that or maybe he likes little boys.
I was actually just
that's a rough one.
That's a bit much. That's the line there.
He's my brother.
I know.
He's my brother.
Was he in the Boy Scouts with you?
No. I was actually just thinking the last couple of days just how freaking annoying it is that they have the Little League World Series stuff on ESPN. Championship game, yeah, go for it. I don't need to see the round of 16.
Yeah. Well,
actually, a lot of people like to watch it, and really, it is still the dead zone.
Yeah,
it's still the dead zone.
Yeah,
and until the U.S. Open comes on, that's what they're going to play.
Yeah, that's really a shame.
Yeah,
I think ESPN is just losing it. To be honest with you,
well, they're just gearing up for their hockey coverage.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's true.
I say tongue in cheek.
You're looking forward to that, aren't you? So, what is your idea out there? Who's irreplaceable on the Pirates after Paul Skeens? Let us know.
I don't think anybody wants in on this because everybody knows how bad they are.
That's everybody wants to talk Steelers.
Of course they do.
I think so. I think we had enough of this this baseball talk.
Back to the Steelers.
This is what you call peer pressure.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring it up now. The Steelers preseason take. So you guys, I was at work Saturday night, thaifully. I caught up with some of the highlights. I read all the press. I listened to all the shows. I understand.
There were highlights?
Well, exactly. It didn't take long. And you guys were watching it. And good, bad, Wilson, Fields. I mean, what are we really doing here? This is preseason. I've made this argument every year, even last year, even though I was a Kenny Pickett bandwagon guy when they jumped on him in the draft.
Yep.
Even last year when he started out the season, everybody's like, oh my God, he's incredible. Even last year I was saying, look, it's preseason, and I think that we're just so starved for football around here, like everybody is, because it's not just Pittsburgh. Every market is doing this.
There's a lot of overreactions going around.
Yeah, exactly.
In every city right now. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the
ridiculous.
Preseason.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes, people.
Apparently, Dan Orlovsky was trying to say that Russell Wilson made a horrible decision when he completed a pass for 4 yards instead of completing to somebody else for 6 yards.
I know. That's so bad.
Seriously here? This is ridiculous.
Well,
the thing that also drives me crazy is now, because Mason Rudolph took Tennessee to a winning score, now suddenly it's like everybody loves Mason Rudolph.
I know. I heard those calls. Yeah.
Come on, people. First of all, this is the preseason. We're talking about people who are trying to make the team. Most of these people are not going to be playing in the starting lineup. I get the angst over Russell Wilson.
As you can see from Mike Lawrence's comment here, he's the most inept pro football games ever.
Yeah.
You know what, Mike? I love that you watch us. Thanks for being here, but I think we're going to respectfully disagree with that. I mean, yes, it's bad football. Let's just face it, but it is preseason.
It's also they're going vanilla. They're not showing anybody anything.
Right. I'm gonna let HJ finish his point. Okay. So I just wanted to get Mike's comment in there while we were talking about it.
My point was already made.
There you go.
And my point is it's the preseason.
Right.
It's nothing to get excited about. However, I think that we do need to think about some of the things that Tomlin is talking about.
Yeah.
And the thing that he talked about in his quote of the week, as I'm calling it.
Oh, is that a new thing for us now?
I like this idea.
I like it too.
Because
do you like it?
This is Tomlin's.
You weren't even listening.
This is Tomlin's quote of the week. The Steelers couldn't make a decision about Russell Wilson because, quote unquote, we were not winning possession downs.
Right. Yeah, that was
right.
Yeah.
We were not winning possession downs.
Isn't every down a possession down?
Well, it is, but basically what he's saying is we suck on offense, but he's saying it in his Tomlin way, right?
Right.
And he's saying that on third down, we were not good. And you know what? I went back and looked, and he's right. They were with Russell Wilson. They were 1 of 6 on third downs, right? And why did they not get a third down? Well, the first time was because he was sacked. The second time was because he threw it short of the yard. How many times have we seen that with Kenny Pickett and others before, after Ben, right?
Yeah.
He got sacked again on the third one. And then on the fourth one, there was a holding penalty, so they got knocked back to third 19. He did complete a short pass to Warren for 12 yards, but they needed 19. So what the hell? And then in on the fifth one, he finally got one. There was a 3rd and 2 to Van Jefferson, and he completed a pass for 12 yards. Yay. That was the one that they got. And then what happened is they made it to 3rd and 11, and then he threw it to Van Jefferson again, this time short of the sticks, and they missed a field goal at halftime. Well, no, there wasn't a halftime. It was like in the first quarter.
Whatever. Yeah.
So they were 1 of 6 on third down. That just reminds me of last year's offense.
And I think that's the problem.
And it's like, we were given this promise about Arthur Smith and being more creative, and there is more movement, and it does look a little bit better. But still, the results are the same.
Yeah, but
that's, I think, the thing for me that I'm worried about.
Okay, so that's what you're worried about. But
that's my worry.
You're still saying, look, it's preseason. We shouldn't read too much into this yet.
I agree we shouldn't read too much into it, but that's something. The way they're trying to get third downs, the way they're going about it is almost the same as last year. Run, get into a 3rd and short situation, and then all you have to do is throw it 3 or 4 yards. They don't have a plan for when it's 3rd and 15. They just say we can't have holding penalties.
Right.
You're going to get holding penalties in this league. You got to have a way to have a play that will get you 15 or 20 yards when that happens. This offense doesn't seem to have it either, and that's my concern.
I don't think we've seen enough of it yet. Shada on IG says he's heard talking heads saying we can talk about Pittsburgh moving off of Tomlin, but he's with you, HJ. The Roonies will allow Tomlin to stay as long as he wants. I think we all. I don't know. I think. Look, if the Steelers go 3-14 this year, I don't think Tomlin comes back. But that's a whole other discussion for when they're there.
They could be headed in that direction.
Well,
I wasn't thinking that beforehand, but look, when I see them not throwing the ball 20 yards and it's 3rd and 19, for me, it's like the preseason. Why not try it? If that's in your arsenal of things to try, why not try it now? It just seems like there isn't that arsenal. It doesn't exist. Now, maybe it's because Pickett's not on the field. I'm sorry, Pickens not on the field. But you still got to throw it to the guy who's out there who's playing the position that Pickens is in. So
you're kind of confusing me here. Yeah, in on one side,
I don't think their offense is daring enough to try to win the game. They're just trying to manage the ball again.
But at the same time, you're also saying this is just preseason. And, my viewpoint on this is exactly that. It's just preseason. You've got Russell Wilson, who hasn't started a game since sometime around mid-year last year, close to the end. Then he tweaks a calf. He's in a new team, a new offense, and you've got, Justin Fields, you've got a new OC, you've got basically pretty close, a revamped receiver core, and you're trotting these guys out here, and Wilson's first action was Saturday. You got to give it some time. You got to wait. The games that matter. Here's a Tomlinism for you. The games that matter are the games that matter. You know what I'm saying?
The games that you play are the games that matter.
That's right. The games you play are the games that matter. And I am not willing to say anything other than let's wait till game 1, game 2, game 3 and see what the offense looks like. Now, I have always in my life ignored preseason. I have always watched very few preseason games.
Yeah.
For that reason only, because first of all, I don't care who the third stringers are. Pulling a diamond out of the rough is rare. And if they do great. I didn't have to watch them play in preseason.
Right.
And I don't want to get overhyped or too depressed. It's one of those things where these games don't matter. The coaches aren't looking at the score. The coaches are looking at how does the offensive line set themselves? How do they call the defenses ahead of time? How do they get off their blocks? How does the quarterback read his progressions? How does the running back block or find his hole? How does the defense get to the quarterback and and cover the gaps? They're looking at all the technicalities. They're calling the plays, but they're not calling the plays to win.
I think Tomlin did give us, something to cling on to, though, when he said that the good thing about, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields is that they don't run from the challenge. They run toward the challenge.
They do run a lot, and that's another concern.
Yeah.
They're running away from defensive linemen coming right at them.
Yeah. The one thing I would say...
And they both hold on to the ball way too long.
The one thing I would say, though, I agree that a lot of this is very vanilla football. However, the one thing I think you can gauge a little bit is block on block. And the offensive line didn't have a very good game. Broderick Jones didn't have a very good game.
No, he did not.
But I also think part of that is stop mixing his position up.
I agree.
I mean, and I think the Steelers' defensive front seven, I thought, played pretty well.
I agree with that. I think the front seven played great. I think they and clearly the Bills didn't score either.
Right.
So I think that's the problem. I think the Steelers are going to rely on their defense again, and there's going to be a time when that defense is just going to break. And I have yet to see something from the offense that says, okay, maybe they are going to try and throw it deep a little bit more to open up the run. I think Najee's looked good in the preseason. Now, once again, I don't care so much about that, but it just the holes seem to be there. He seems to be hitting them a little bit faster, and that'll equate to 2 or 3 more yards a run. But I think they need to find a way to throw the ball down the field more. And I just haven't seen that yet with his offense. Maybe we'll see it in the next preseason, but I just haven't seen it.
I think that their biggest weakness, other than quarterback right now, is wide receiver. And I don't think I'm going to get any disagreement there.
No, I agree with you.
I think that Russell Wilson is a serviceable NFL quarterback still. This argument is made all the time, and it seems like people just ignore it. He didn't have a horrible year in Denver last year. His stats were pretty good, and he sat the last 5 games?
Yeah.
So, at 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, add 5 games onto that at his current pace, he'd have been in the 30s, maybe 12 or 14 interceptions. Mm-hmm. That's a good year by any measure. And he was on a team that didn't like him. And he had a coach that hated him.
Right.
So to say that Russell Wilson is washed up is just, it's ridiculous. It does. Now, does that mean that he's going to come out this year and play great? No, absolutely not. But, most of these Steelers fans out there, they want to say, well, he's washed up. We want Justin Fields. But at the same time, they get mad because he didn't perform. And it's like, look, you got to first of all, you got to give the guy a chance. He's better than anything we had on the field last year, period. End of story.
He can be.
Well,
he can be.
Let's just say that. Let's just match careers. Period. He's better than anything we had on the field last year.
I refuse to match careers when he has yet to play a single down for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. All I care about is this year.
Okay. All right.
No offense to Russell Wilson, but he could be just as bad as Kenny Pickett.
I doubt that. I highly doubt that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because I want to give him a chance. It's a new offense. It's a new offensive scheme. I'm hoping that he can find a way to make it work for him. But I think Mark's right. By moving Broderick Jones around left and right, I think that's not solidifying the right tackle or the left tackle position. Mm-hmm. And this injury, the Jalen Warren, could be a problem
Mike
too.
Wants to know about that.
And the fact that Russell Wilson is just starting his first preseason game right now is another problem. And and I think that leads me back to the point that I wanted to make at the beginning of this, which is their strength and conditioning. It's horrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I think that they missed out when Marcel Pastor left the team in January of this year. I think Mike Tomlin had an opportunity to bring in somebody who could make this team work. And what happens? They bring in Russell Wilson. He pushes a sled and he gets injured. He injures his calf. Now you got Jalen Warren hurt. And actually Broderick Jones, one of the reasons they said he wasn't doing so well, because you hurt his shoulder or his arm. He had a sling on his arm. What the hell is going on with their strength and conditioning that all of these people are getting injured and they're hardly even hitting each other in practice?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a problem.
It could be a problem. You could be right about that. I think we're going to see that. It's going to depend on how on how they rebound from this. And Pat off track. I got to get Pat in the show. He's dying because he's watching on YouTube. I'm going to see Cordell Stewart's ex-girlfriend this weekend. Want me to ask her opinion? No, but see if she'll be on the show. That could be fun.
Yeah, see if Cordell wants to be on the show. He'd be a good interview. That's for sure.
He would be. Yeah, he'd draw a crowd here. That's for sure. So Warren's injury, from what I understand, it's a soft tissue injury, which is not a good thing.
No,
for a hamstring. So
no, because that's the same injury that Justin Jefferson had last year. He missed like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. So now,
and they said because I'm watching Receiver now. I saw that part.
Yeah.
And they said typically it's a 6 to 8 week injury.
Oh, wow.
Well, okay. I mean, until it's fully healed.
Right.
You can play through it, but it's always going to hurt and you're never going to be at 100%.
Gotcha.
So that's a problem. That could be a problem.
That could be a huge problem. Yeah. I think there's a lot of question marks. And I refer back to the comments that, when we've talked about this before, the Steelers with Tomlin are now going through a transition at quarterback. And dare I say, they fumbled the ball with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And now they're trying to pick up another bouncing ball with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And to assume that this year is going to, you know what? So just last week we were talking about this. When I said the guy from Houston, the beat writer from Houston said he thought the Steelers were the worst team in the division, and you disagreed with that.
Yeah, I still disagree with it.
But how can you disagree with that?
Well, I mean, because they play against the Browns.
Yeah, but the Browns, the Browns had the number one defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and what did it get them?
Yeah, it got them into a playoff game with Joe Flacco. I mean, I'm not advocating for the Browns, but what I'm saying is that on paper and record-wise, they were a better team. And I think they're still a better team. I think Baltimore's a better team. I think this feels like a conflict getting ready to just explode, doesn't it? I feel like Baltimore's a better team for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like Cincinnati is a better team for sure. And I do feel like Cleveland is a better team.
Who do you think of those three teams has the best defense?
I think the Browns do.
Why?
I think the Browns do because I think their defense.
Who's the Browns starting linebacker? You don't know because there is nobody there that's any good.
He won't let me answer.
Who's their best pass rusher?
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, is he better than T.J. Watt?
I'm not going player by player.
Was he better last year than T.J. Watt?
No, I think T.J. Watt should have won player.
Do you think the Steelers improved at linebacker position or got worse?
We'll see.
What do you know? I'm asking
with
your
Patrick
opinion.
Queen?
Yes.
They should have improved. Yes.
And what about their defensive backfield with Joey Porter Jr. in his second year? Do you think it's better than?
I think there's a lot of questions at cornerback. Look, you can have a one stud corner, but if you've got nobody else on the other side, which right now I don't think they do.
And I agree with you. I think until they get Cam Sutton back, they're weak on that end. Yeah. But other than that, the Steelers have the best defense in the AFC North. They absolutely do. And that's going to win them those games. I'm just saying, because the offense they know the offensive schemes. And you only have to win your friggin' division. And that's the only reason I remain optimistic about this team, because it looks like their offense is still going to suck. Yeah,
it does. Schwaber, weigh in on this. You've had a lot of time to think. I know there's something rolling around up there.
Well, to be honest, this is very hard to comment on because in a way, I think you're both right.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can look at things on paper and you can say the Cleveland Browns statistically had a better defense. You can look at, even with the loss of a Patrick Queen, the Ravens seem to have a good defense every year. Cincinnati, I don't know. They lost Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
Chase is holding in.
Chase is, holding in. I think the defense might actually be getting a little bit worse. I'm not really sold on them. But one of the things the Steelers are pretty good at doing is they're pretty good at beating teams that they're a little better than, and they do hang in there. Like they are that 9-8 team.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So would it? Now, look, I would definitely say the Ravens will win the division, but I could certainly see the Steelers being second. Do they have maybe as much talent as some of the other teams? Probably not.
No, definitely they have the worst offensive talent in the division for sure.
Yeah, but they also, you could also make an argument probably next to the Ravens. I'm going to say they have the most defensive talent, and it's not too far off from the Ravens. So look, these days when we watch football, it's all about the passing game. It's like a different game than it was years ago.
True.
And so we all get mesmerized with the teams that have these great offenses. So it's very easy to look at the Steelers and say, well, their offense isn't going to be that great, so they're not going to be much. But it wouldn't shock me at all if it's a very similar year to last year, where, halfway through the year, we're thinking, hey, this could be 8-9. This could be 9-8. This could be 10-7. Hey, if things break right, it could be 11-6.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
The whole 9-8 or 9-8, 8-9 thing is, it's very, very torturous to me. Mike Lawrence chimes in on Facebook and says, Cam Sutton will be out for 8 games.
Yep.
Will we keep him with his violation of the NFL conduct policy? Well, the answer to that, I think, is yes.
Yeah.
Because they signed him knowing that this was coming.
They knew. They didn't think it was going to be 8 games, Mike. They thought at the most it would be 4. They were surprised by the 8 games, as were most people, but they're willing to accept it. I think it was because he ran away from the NFL, essentially.
Yeah.
He said, I know this is coming. I'm going to run away and hide. And he didn't just come out like a man and say, I did it. I'll take my, I'll take my medicine and just move on. And he didn't do that. And I think that's why they doubled it.
Yeah.
And yes, the Steelers are just going to stick with him. And they
don't really have a choice right now.
No, not really. Yeah. Well, they do. I mean, the people they picked up, that guy from Houston.
Yeah.
That's what they got to go with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a game in Detroit. If anything, this game worries me because Detroit isn't, they seem to be on a mission.
Detroit's not going to play any of their stars.
Yeah, but there's guys that, I guess where I'm coming from is there's guys that want to make that team, and they might want to make a statement. And I just don't like the injury thing. Well, I think the Steelers are definitely the one team in the division where one real injury, TJ Watt gets, now he might not play in this game, but somebody like TJ Watt gets injured and look at the record without him. It's kind of like they can't afford to suffer another injury.
Yeah, they have drafted some guys this year that hopefully help with that, with Herbig and
with the
that Wilson.
Right. Right.
So I think that might help, but you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. With TJ down, that's always been a problem for the Steelers.
Yeah. So so I'm kind of hoping he doesn't even play in this game. I mean, I think that.
I don't think you can be afraid of injuries.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's true. That's
who's the first game of the season against the Counts?
Atlanta. Yeah.
They're actually kind of an interesting team now, aren't they?
It is with Cousins down there, and he's healthy, so he's going to be playing.
And with their 2 new additions. Matthew Judon.
From the Patriots.
And Simmons.
Yeah.
Safety from Denver.
On defense. Yeah.
I'd be more worried about Drake London and Kyle Pitts, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson.
Steelers
won. No, not really. I like our front line. I think we can hold him in check.
Steelers 1-11 without Watts. The doctor chimes in.
Yeah, that's right.
So we'll be anxiously watching that next game, and then we got a week break, and then the season starts, and then we'll get some real shit going around here.
Maybe the doctor wants to be our sports science coordinator.
Yeah,
for the Steelers, because they need it. They need some strengthening.
Yeah,
with their conditioning.
We should have maybe the doctor could come on every week and just give us an update on the injuries and
tell us what to make of Jalen Warren.
Yeah, injury. what's really going on. And all that. Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Because we could use another Deflitch on this podcast.
We'll put the doctor in the waiting room.
Although I would say that I listen.
That was horrible.
I do listen. I do listen to some sports radio, and every week they bring a doctor on to talk about injuries.
Yeah.
And I always find it to be the most boring part of the show.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, CD.
Well, my brother has always said that. Well, no, I'm not going to tell you what he said about other doctors being on television.
Yeah. Let's not.
Of which he was one during COVID. So I think he was just talking about himself.
That's great. All right. This is the Sports Black and Gold edition. If you're watching us live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram, thank you for being here. And remember, we do drop the show right after the show as a podcast, by the way, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And we are live right now on Radio PGH. That's our radio station. More shows to come on that station coming up. And Pat wants to know if one of our kids has a fantasy football draft list for him.
I think he's talking about us being kids.
Yes. No, I think I don't know. No, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't want Pat anywhere near my kids.
You kids. I think
he's definitely off track. And,
as usual.
Hey, Pat, check out the Fantasy Alpha crowd. They'll get you one.
Yeah. Once that show gets fired back up, which I think is coming very soon.
Or you know what? You can Google it.
Yeah. Why don't you?
I just know number 1 is CMC, and that's all that really matters for me because I have the first pick.
There you go. So we can start forming our strategy now. So does the Grand Schwabini have a prediction for us this week?
Sure.
You do?
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, here we go. The Grand Schwabini is going to predict right now.
Absolutely, I do.
All right.
And he's got the magic.
These things just come to you all the time, and you have to get them out.
Well, the good news is that I have insight into another universe.
Ooh, that is true.
And as I rub the lamp,
Rub that lamp.
as I rub that lamp,
Rub it. You need
as
it.
I rub it,
You got to get.
I get the correct information. I get the information that tells all. And what this lamp is telling me is that Najee Harris is going to go over 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns this year, finally proving to Christopher Lance Klein to get off his back.
Woo! Get off my line.
I like that he is being put into the same offense that Derrick Henry ran. And I've noticed in these preseason games, one thing that we can actually look at is, block on block, man on man. And I think he is running with a lot more purpose, a la a Derrick Henry type running
Interesting
scheme. So I think he's going to have a big year. And especially now with Jaylen Warren being probably out for the first couple weeks, I think they're going to rely on him heavily. I see 1,200 yards. I see 10 plus touchdowns. And if you want me to go even a little further, I see him being re-signed.
Oh,
wow.
Now that's interesting.
That would be a surprise.
So the Grand Schwabini is predicting 1,200 plus yards, 10 touchdowns. I will recant my criticism, and they will re-sign Najee.
Wow.
That's like 4 predictions in one. Doesn't get any better than that.
And you know what? With this injury, I can see him. I can see that prediction coming true because Jaylen Warren could be out for the first 4 weeks.
Look, I mean, it has nothing to do with me. It comes in from other space.
It's just the other world.
Does it come into the lamp and then you pull it out of the lamp? Is that how that works?
It's kind of like a mixture lamp into my temples at the same time.
All right, now we understand. Yeah.
The lamp temple thing.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't get it at all.
I've seen that before. Yeah, it's quite amusing.
Good one, Mark. I like that one.
Just put on some Pink Floyd and give me a light show.
There you go. We used to do that.
Laser shows at the planetarium.
We used to do that.
Anybody been to Buell Planetarium lately?
No. I've actually never been to the Buell Planetarium.
Well, you're not a real Pittsburgher.
Is it a sight to behold?
Well, you wouldn't know because you haven't been there.
I did call somebody a jag at work the other day. It just kind of flowed out by accident. I said, "You're such a jag." And then some other dude next to me went, "My God, are you a Yinzer?"
Nice.
And I was like, you have just bestowed an honor upon me that I've been working 31 years for.
Because it just flows out sometimes.
Yeah. And you do look like one.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Especially with that lousy beard.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now I did promise somebody down at the shop, down at the store, who is listening to our podcast, a guy that works there. His name's Jake's great guy.
All right, Jake.
Jake the Snake.
He has listened to. I'm going to embarrass him now because he was like, "You can't tell these guys this." He said, "I listened to your show."
We don't know Jake, so it doesn't matter.
Well, Jake just wants to say that I make the show. He just says, you make the show. Now I don't know if he was being kind.
You do make the show, but he wasn't saying that as a compliment.
Oh, okay.
Telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah. I was misunderstanding him.
Yes.
Was that the whole thing?
They don't call him Jake the Snake for nothing.
Yeah. I haven't heard anybody call him Jake the Snake, but
it's because you're not in that crowd.
I'm not in that. You're right.
That's
actually.
right.
I'm not in that
You're
crowd.
not taking that 15-minute break at the top of the hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If you were, then you would know.
Well, maybe we'll have Jake on and we'll question him as to why.
I don't even think you know.
I think we already know. We don't need to have Jake on to know. We don't need the lamp to flow in the Mark's temple to know.
And I wasn't going to say anything, but you guys jumped on me, so I thought I'm going to just.
I think it's really nice though that you have friends that make you feel good.
Well, I mean, it's important. It's important.
It's important to feel good.
Good to have peace of mind.
Okay, now we're going to do something we call. Oh, actually, I want to ask HJ a couple things here. So I have in front of me, of course, we are all in the studio together. For those of you who wonder, the Grand Schwabini is to my right. Hockey Jesus is right across from me in the studio. And Hockey Jesus is here. And you can listen to Hockey Jesus on the podcast after every single frickin' Penguins game. So when the season starts back up, Hockey Jesus will have his thoughts. He watches every game. He watches almost every minute of every game.
I have a question for Hockey Jesus.
Okay, so let's get there. You can follow Hockey Jesus on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast.
I wasn't aware that Jason Spezza was in the organization.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he came over. He came over when Dubas came over.
And I see that he is now going to be, is this correct, the head coach of the Hershey Bears?
Well, not the Hershey Bears. The Wilkes-Barre
Penguins. Okay.
The baby Pens.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. No. But he's going to be the head coach, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. So thoughts?
I think that's a fine move. I think he was trying to learn the GM job, and I think he just wanted to be more into the hockey nuts and bolts of things. And they had an opening because they fired their coach, and it makes sense. Yeah. You know, I think he'll learn down there. I mean, he's a former hockey player, so people are going to gravitate to him.
Yeah.
You know, he was famous mostly in Ottawa.
He was a good player.
But he was a good player. Yeah. He torched the Pens quite a bit when the Ottawa was good in the, I guess that would have been the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm good with that.
Yeah. All right.
But really what I wanted to talk about with hockey, and by the way, I am going through some withdrawal with not having hockey around.
Are you really?
Yeah. I mean, like literally I'm like thinking, okay, baseball's done. It's not really ever been around for me, but I make it work in my world.
Right.
And there's literally since the draft and since, free agency, there hasn't been anything going on with hockey. So when I saw this stuff about Chris Letang, I'm like, oh, okay, finally something to talk about. Dude, it's just all clickbait. I swear to God, like people don't have anything to talk about because
didn't they say he wanted a trade or something like that? I mean, I didn't click it. I just saw the headline.
Here's I think what's going on. And this is just my take. I don't have any special insight. I don't have no damn lamp. I just have hockey knowledge from watching it for too many years. Okay. I think everybody's just speculating because that's what they want to do because Sid hasn't signed a contract yet.
Right.
And because he hasn't signed a contract yet, what happens? Well, first you got to talk about how Malkin feels about it. And, somebody said something about Malkin, maybe not playing out his last year. Okay. That's step number one, which by the way, doesn't sound like it's true,
right?
But it may be true. He might have said it to somebody just kind of in passing. I think what happened was he said he would like to play a year in the KHL. He would like to play in Russia, Mother Russia, after he's done with the NHL.
Mother Russia.
And everybody's speculating that he's going to do it while he still has some talent left.
Right. He still has talent left?
He does.
Okay.
No, he does. I mean, it's just not at the highest level where he had been for decades.
Yeah, we get that.
Right. So now, because they kind of kick Malkin to the side, they got to bring in Letang because the three of them are all melded together.
Yeah,
right?
They're compadres.
So it's like, well, where would Chris Letang want to play? Well, Montreal, because that's where he's from. So they create this rumor that says, he has been traded. Now, maybe he did inquire. Like, by the way, if Sid doesn't sign, would you look into it? It might be a situation like that where it's that big if word at the beginning where I'm not looking to be traded. It's just that if that should be a case where you do want to melt this whole thing down and you just want to start from scratch again, that's where I would like to go. And I think maybe that may have happened as an if scenario, but I don't believe for one second that Sidney Crosby is not going to sign with the Penguins. I've already gone on record saying that I think it's going to be 4 or 5 years. And I believe that Letang is going to play out his full contract, and I believe Malkin's going to play out his full contract. And all this other stuff is just stupidness for people to click on their website. When you click on the Hockey Jesus, you will get the truth. You will not get clickbait.
Amen.
So a couple weeks ago, you said you guaranteed that Sid would be signed by the end of the week. And that didn't come true.
Yeah,
now, I'm not beating on
that's
here. I'm
true.
Just right. I'm just
that's true. I did say that.
He doesn't have a lamp.
That's right. I mean,
I don't have.
Is it possible to train him on the lamp, or it's just not
it's a God-given gift?
There it is. So
I don't have the lamp powers.
So then I'm wondering if you made that prediction because I can't remember which show it was. Did you make that in anticipation of the date 8/7, which seems to be really special to Penguins fans and to Sid?
Yeah, I thought that.
That's what I thought.
First of all, I didn't realize he was such in the Canadian soccer
Right.
Or Canadian. Don't want to call it Canadian football because they actually have football in Canada.
Yes.
But he was really interested in the Canadian soccer team, so he was spending some time with them. He is preparing to play hockey this year, like he always does with Nate McKinnon, and I can't remember the other guy he skates with. But he's getting ready. He's just not back in Pittsburgh yet. They're going to sign the contract. It's going to happen. I just don't think he wants to make a big deal out of it, but everybody's making a big deal out of it.
Do you have any concerns at all? Because from everything that I'm reading and listening to, which is more than I normally do.
You're welcome.
Some of the guys, yes, thank you, HJ. Some of the guys that cover the Penguins are actually starting to get, I would say, a little anxious, not necessarily worried, but kind of like, well, it speaks to maybe. I did hear one of the guys, to his credit, say exactly what you said, which is, hey, look, it's the off season. Everybody deserves an off season, and you know, just because August 7th passed doesn't mean that Sidney's thinking, you know, Sid's thinking this or thinking that.
Yeah,
he's got other things that he's concerned with,
right?
But does it give you pause at all that there doesn't seem to be urgency on either side, or does the fact that there's no urgency make you think like, look, they probably already have it worked out for the most part?
Yeah,
and he's going to sign when they get back.
It's the latter.
Yeah,
I totally believe that whatever Sid wants, he'll get. So it doesn't really matter when they do it.
Yeah, it's not like he had a bad year last year. You know, I mean, it's like
he's been the healthiest in his career.
Yeah, and I think what everybody needs to do is take a step back and realize that there is, I don't think, any possible scenario in which the Penguins would not sign him.
Exactly.
You know, now on the other side of that, the other scenario is the enticing one, which is Sid is still playing pretty high at the top of his game.
Right.
But what does he see in the next 3 to 4 years, which is probably what he has left at an elite level remaining, maybe less because he is older, but you know, what does he see in the future for the Penguins? Because ultimately his goal isn't to retire in Pittsburgh.
No,
his goal is to win another cup.
No, his goal is to play at the highest level he can play at,
which I would argue includes winning another cup.
I don't think it necessarily does. And here's why I say that. Because he wants to be able to be on the first line. He wants to be a first line center his whole career.
Right.
Guys like Yzerman and guys that Stamkos will probably be this in the next few years. They're going to have to drop down a few levels to be able to play with those teams. He doesn't want to be a second line center on Colorado. He wants to be the first line center or on Colorado. And he can't be that. He can be that in Pittsburgh for the rest of his career, for sure. There's nobody who's ever going to play that first line center position but Sidney Crosby. And he still plays it at the highest level. And he plays a two-way game. So he's not fast, he's not flashy. He just gets to the puck and he knows how to make the plays. And honestly, I think his game is geared so that he can do it for a long time. I do agree with you, though, that I do think in his mind he's thinking, does this Pittsburgh Penguins team have enough talent around it to be able to get to a playoff position? Because I can tell you for a fact that Sidney Crosby playing at that high level and missing playoffs the last 2 years is killing him. It's eating at him. And I think that's why it's taking a little bit of time for him to sign this contract, because he wants to be purposeful with his next contract that he signs, because he doesn't want to miss the playoffs again. Okay. That's absolutely true about Sidney Crosby. And everything else around it, I think, is just horseshit.
Okay. So there you go. There you have Hockey Jesus. Hockey Jesus preaches on the podcast after every single Penguins game.
By the way, that felt great. I love talking about hockey again.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Pass the sauce.
I can feel your anxiety dropping just a little bit. I can feel the energy in the room starting
to
relax. Okay, before we move on to snack time,
right at you.
We're going to play Stump the Yinzer. So Stump the Yinzer. The question is, who was the only Steeler to be named Super Bowl MVP twice?
Oh, goodness. Well, I might even just let Mark have this one. So easy.
Twice.
twice.
Yeah. Now the deal is if Mark answers before you do, he gets to be the Yinzer for the week.
I'm gonna let him have it this time.
Okay.
Because I think he can do it. I think he belongs to be Yinzer of the week.
Terry Bradshaw.
There you go.
Let's go,
You
Mark.
are Yinzer of the
week.
Yeah.
Mark Schwab.
Terry Bradshaw, Super Bowl 13 and
Let's
14. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now for bonus points, who won MVP in each of the other 2 Super Bowls? Not the one, the first 4.
The first 4.
Yeah. Let's let the Yinzer answer that for real.
Yeah, you don't want to go? You want to give it a shot, Mark?
You want me to take a shot at it?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Take a
I think
shot.
he can give it a shot. I think he can get.
So we're saying the first 4.
Yeah, the other 2. Yeah, so they're your classic Steelers.
Stallworth?
Nope.
Okay.
Close though.
Lynn Swan.
Yep.
Lynn Swan. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And how about Franco Harris?
There you go.
There you go. You got it.
All right.
Nice. Yeah. All
It's
right.
official. It's
Way
official.
to go, Mark. Nice.
It is official.
And I can also give you Santonio Holmes.
Yes.
Antonio Holmes. Yes.
And now the big question, and was it Hines Ward or Antoine Randall L?
I know this because I was there.
Yeah, he was at the game.
Which one are you going to go with?
Hines Ward.
He got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You-
Way to go.
Pretty good.
Maybe you're
That's good,
actually
Mark.
a Steelers
Yeah.
fan. You're actually
Closet Steelers
a
fan.
Steelers
Not
fan
bad.
and you don't know it.
Not bad.
All right, it's time, ladies and gentlemen.
Taste the
Taste the
biscuit.
biscuit.
Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey
that honey
sauce.
sauce.
Taste the
Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
with the honey sauce. Don't get that honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Okay, so why do we play that ridiculous song that everybody seems to absolutely love and has turned those people into gazillionaires? That's because it is Trader Joe's snack time.
It's time to eat, people.
And what is Trader Joe's snack time? Well, everybody knows that I work at Trader Joe's, and they are not paying us for this, but they did give me permission to do it. So what I do is every week I bring a product home and we give it a little taste. We give our honest opinion. I happen to love everything I've ever had from that place. It's a great place to buy your food. It's actually really inexpensive and they got some great stuff. So without further ado, this week's product of the week is Trader Joe's Hatch Mac and Cheese.
Hatch.
I'm not a mac and cheese guy.
I know I've heard you say that before.
Hatch? What is Hatch?
Hatch is a place in New Mexico famous for growing chilies.
Oh.
So
that
it's
right?
it's got
So
some
it's
chili peppers
spicy.
in it. Yeah, it's not that spicy.
I thought it might have to do something with the chicken.
I'll let you go.
That's what I was thinking. Like
Yeah.
they put some eggs in there or what?
No, there's no
Eggs and cheese?
I don't know. I don't know what's in there. Let me get rid of the picture here so we can see our faces. So I did heat this up. I did heat this up before the show. Oh, it's still warm. And I'll just give you guys a spoon. Give it a little stir. I have actually had it, but I will reserve my thoughts on it.
Sampling the
until-
product
until-
before the time. Very nice.
No, I just had I had it like a year ago. My stepson got it and he left some in there. So
He actually left some. Wow.
yeah, Hatch Mac and Cheese.
You're lucky.
Hatch Mac and Cheese.
And we already know Mark's not a fan,
yeah,
so-
but we got to give him props though because
He did.
he dives in anyway.
he does. He
yeah,
goes
he
right
dives in anyway.
Not bad.
Not bad.
I'm gonna
Not
go.
I would consider this a true snack.
I mean,
6 minutes in the microwave. That's all you need.
Mhm.
I'm not a mac and cheese guy, but I think for mac and cheese, it's good.
Yeah, we actually do sell a lot of this too.
Mhm.
One of these days, I'll bring home something we don't sell, and we'll see what happens.
You're right. It's not overly spicy,
Mm-mm.
but it's got good flavor.
It's got a nice bit of spice into it. I might
Uh-huh.
actually have one more bite.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah, pass that back around. I'm
All
gonna
right.
have another bite.
It's all
of it
you.
for
You guys
sure.
go for
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I don't know. Yeah, I could eat the whole thing. There's not too much in there.
No, not at all.
There's not too much in there. That's a good
No.
snack.
That's one serving for the most part.
It's a good side dish.
And there you have it. Trader Joe's product of the week. You can finish it if you want. I don't care. No.
Taste the
I
biscuit.
could.
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
going to.
Taste the
This
goodness of the biscuit.
You know you. Yeah.
Taste the
Taste the honey sauce.
Taste
Uh-huh.
the
Taste
goodness
the
of
goodness
the
of the
biscuit with
biscuit
the
with
honey
that honey
sauce.
sauce.
To get that
Get
honey
that
sauce
honey
on
sauce on
me.
me.
I don't
I don't like the way it
tastes
tastes with my chicken wings.
All right.
Oh yeah,
Thank you to Trader Joe's for that permission.
that's good stuff.
It is good.
That was good. That was better. What did we have last time? I don't even remember. It's been a while.
Last week. What did we have last?
I don't think we had one last week, did we?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No, we did. We were here.
It wasn't good. I don't remember
No, it was.
Potato chips.
No.
potato chips.
I could go back and look.
Everything.
I don't feel like looking.
everything with the bagel stuff.
I don't
was
feel like
really
looking.
good. No.
You're watching the Sports Porch Black and Gold podcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram, all over the world. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. The Dead Zone is officially almost over. We're getting back into Steelers football.
3
We
more
talked
weeks.
about that earlier. We do drop the podcast right after the show. You can go to Mushroom Truffle Flatbread. That's what we had last week. Chris Chotto on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Thanks, buddy. I love it. Keep coming back.
That's
Spread
right.
this
We
out
called
to
it
your
pizza.
friends. Yeah, he could be our new DG because he's watching every week on Instagram.
Right.
So,
That's right.
although nobody could ever replace DG. So,
No.
um,
Rest in peace, Dave.
and we drop the podcast right after the show. Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio app, anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts, and you can listen live on Radio PGH. Click the link in the comments or go to radiopgh.com. Let's move on here to what we are watching. And why do we do this? Well, we do this because there's a lot of shit to watch out there.
We like to watch things.
Mhm.
It is actually amazing how much shit there is to watch out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost too much.
It's almost like we could come up with our own show and somehow get it on Netflix. Don't you feel like that?
No.
Easily.
Don't you feel like we're kind of working on that?
I would like to come up with a show called HR.
Yeah.
And we just basically go through all the stuff that we've dealt with at work.
Oh, my God.
Around us at work. It'd be
Dude,
hilarious.
the stuff that happens at my work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's The Office on
Yeah.
steroids.
Yeah,
Do you know
that-
where- you
that's the way my last work was.
You know what would be a
Oh, yeah.
fantastic show?
What?
I thought about a show called Grocery, because what my job is basically I stock grocery shelves,
Mhm.
Yep.
but it's a store with, like, at any given time somewhere between, and I could be wrong with these numbers, but like 50 to 70 people running the store.
Mhm.
And
Right.
we all pretty much do the same thing in different departments.
Mhm.
And what happens is after a while, the customers kind of disappear.
Mhm.
Like they're still there,
Mhm.
but we're having conversations during the day, and we're basically moving food products around all the time.
Right.
And I have 4 or 5 different separate unique conversations with 4 or 5 different people interrupted 20 times during the day. So what I'm doing is I'm picking up, and they're weird subjects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
Like
course.
things you never thought of. And
Like,
I'm
hey, Chris, what's your take on llamas?
yeah, exactly. It's stuff
Yep.
like that. It's like what the other day I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he started getting into some ethereal plane stuff. And like, keep in mind, I've got a box of frozen rice, and he's got like a box of coho salmon. Okay, and we're standing there, and he's like, well, you know, Descartes said blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, what would happen if like everything in my life was a figure of my imagination and all of you were just a part of my imagination? However, my imagination is so incredible and so detailed that I created you, and you now believe that I am part of your imagination.
Mhm.
That
And that lasted all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds crazy.
It is crazy. But the craziest thing is then I walk through like the lettuce section, and I hear 2 other people going, well, that would mean that my imagination is kind of in tune to your imagination. And I'm like, this conversation made it all the way around the store. Anyway,
No, I mean, a lot
Little
of
too
things,
much.
a lot
Oh, yeah.
of things
Too
go
much, yeah.
wrong.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
A lot of things go wrong when you get down to the lettuce section.
yeah.
You don't want to go to the lettuce.
All right.
section.
So instead of creating shows with what we're watching, what we do is we talk about shows that we're actually watching. And the qualifier is that you have to have finished the season that you are currently in before you can give it a review.
Must.
Must finish that season.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to start this week actually with the Grand Schwabini, and it can be a movie as well because the Grand Schwabini did watch a movie.
Mm-hmm. M. Night Shyamalan.
Shyamalan,
You're
my man.
a Shyamalan fan, aren't you?
I love his stuff
I am
too.
a big Shyamalan fan,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to tell you,
No, don't say it.
not good.
No.
Oh,
It's actually, this could be actually the first M. Night Shyamalan movie that I was just kind of like,
seen it coming.
no. Here's what was just really weird. Now, I'm very appreciative of many an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the star of this film,
Yeah, sure.
the star of this film, who was basically playing a serial killer,
Right.
was Josh Hartnett.
Don't know the guy.
And from Titanic, played like opposite like Leo.
Oh yeah. I know the guy. Mhm. Yeah, I know you're talking.
The oh yeah, I know who you're talking about too.
Like, I gotta tell you, like, I think it was like one of the worst castings of all time. Like, I think that there's some sort of like thing now where they're trying to make Josh Hartnett like a big deal, like he's coming up in like some big movies, but like I thought he was terrible. I just didn't find him to be believable, and it was just really, really. I mean, like,
What is he doing in a drama movie?
Yeah, like I was entertained. I was entertained by the movie, so it wasn't like it was like I walked out. I was entertained, but boy, he did not come off like a scary serial killer at all. And, but the other part of it was he was also playing the serial killer that you would never think was a serial killer, kind of like the nice guy next door.
Right.
But I felt like he was almost like too creepy even to be that guy.
Did you know the whole time he was the killer too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it was just, I'm just really disappointed in M. Night.
Okay.
That was a shocker.
Well, you can't hit a home run every time.
Yeah, but I expect more from M. Night.
Okay. Well, we'll send his people a message.
Yes.
We'll get his people on the phone.
What
So
was
he's gotta
the
step up
premise
his game.
of the trap? What was the trap?
The trap.
I'll finish that.
The trap was that Josh Hartnett was a serial killer,
Right.
and the mistake was that he purchased a ticket to a concert of a pop star. And by the way, the girl who was playing the pop star is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Oh, okay.
She was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically all these police are brought in because they know that the serial killer is going to be at the concert. They just don't know who he is.
Oh, I got it. Okay. Yeah.
So he was.
That's a good premise though for a movie.
It was, but it also kind of wasn't. I mean, it seems like so impossible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was
Little too much, a little too far fetched.
It was a little too crazy. Yeah, it really was.
So in other words, the whole movie was about the trap they were setting for him.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was actually more about how can he find his way out of the trap.
Okay.
Mm.
So would you say don't go see it?
I would say don't go see it. If you're really in grocery HR, yes.
Good one. Pat on track there.
If you're
Grocery HR.
If it's like a year from now and it's coming on and it's late night and you're like, I got nothing to do. I got my Trader Joe's mac and cheese. Throw it on.
Yeah, throw it on.
Yeah.
Waste an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Swabini says don't waste your money on going to see the movie The Trap,
Mm-hmm.
but if it ends up being on your streaming service, maybe.
If it's free,
flick it on if you got your $6 mac and cheese.
Free, go see it.
There you go. $4.99.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's probably from your discount.
I don't know. With your discount.
With your discount.
I am watching I watched Presumed Innocent on Apple TV Plus. Now,
Which I watched as well.
yeah, which Schwaber's watched.
I will not watch this.
Because of our previous review?
No, because he scorned Taylor Swift. He's off my list.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever heard the song All Too Well?
No, I have not.
No.
Well, you should Google it. It's Taylor Swift's favorite song.
Who hasn't scorned Taylor Swift?
Travis Kelce yet.
Yeah, well, right. But I mean, I feel like she's kind of made the rounds.
Did they date?
Well, she has, yeah.
Did they date at one point?
They did, and they were pretty serious. And then he basically said, you're too young for me, and I'm leaving you now. And she left the scarf there, and that's She remembered it all too well.
Wait, she left a scarf there.
Well,
I think we've got a problem here. I think
No, this is not a problem.
Really?
But I will not watch this movie for that specific reason.
Well, it's a series. So,
Taylor Swift is more important than Jake Gyllenhaal. That's all the people need to know.
Yeah,
would you agree with my assessment that Jake Gyllenhaal is a poor man's Ryan Gosling?
He's not even that. He's below that.
Below that.
Okay. All right. So my take on this, as people our age will remember, there was a movie called Presumed Innocent with Harrison Ford and Gene Triplehorn. And this is a twist on that movie. It is the same idea in that there is a murder. And there is now Harrison Ford, I believe, was a doctor who came home and his wife had been murdered.
The guy with the missing arm.
The guy with one arm.
Prosthetic,
which I've always kind of been like, how does a guy with a prosthetic arm end up killing an able-bodied woman like Gene Triplehorn? I mean, you're kind of down, you're down in digits. So anyway, so it's got a similar name and like a quasi similar idea in that, like, why would a doctor kill his wife, blah blah blah. But Jake Gyllenhaal plays a guy who's actually an assistant DA and a prosecutor, and he ends up there is the discovery of a young boy who has been murdered, and they give him the case, and then it comes out that all of a sudden the suspect may be his son. You're
thinking about Defending Jacob.
Or that's Defending Jacob. Who am I talking about?
Did you watch that too?
Yeah, I did watch that too.
It was good.
Yeah.
I thought that was better than Presumed Innocent.
Yeah, no, I did think it was better than Presumed Innocent. Yeah. And that wasn't Jake Gyllenhaal though. That was
it doesn't matter. Chris Evans.
Yeah, no, Presumed Innocent was he was
given the wrong name.
I was. I got him mixed. Oops. It's based in the future, and there's a starship called the Enterprise. Right. So I have to go back. I watched it a few weeks back, and it was going to be my show, and then I went on vacation. He does play a DA though, right?
Do you want me to help you with it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
please. Just refresh my memory, and I can take it from there.
So there is a woman attorney who was murdered,
who's found dead. That's right,
in the DA's office.
I could take it from here.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay.
She's found an assistant DA who worked with him is found dead in her apartment, and they assign him to the case. But what they don't know is that he had an affair with her. Mm-hmm. And then once they find out he had an affair with her, they remove him from the case, and then all of a sudden he becomes a suspect.
Right.
And then it just kind of goes from there. And essentially what that means is that, there's going to be a twist, and there is a twist at the end. Mm-hmm. And I personally, I don't find Jake Gyllenhaal to be that great an actor, but I did find the story to be compelling enough to watch all 8 episodes.
It was worth it.
And the twist at the end was not necessarily expected. So there you go. That's my review.
It was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it. Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. A couple comments coming in here. Jake still has her scarf. Chris, that's The Fugitive.
Thank you, Pat.
That's right. That is The Fugitive. I don't know, man. These guys know I'm really tired today, so I have to apologize there. All right. Steve is watching something that I have yet to watch.
Don't worry. I'm not going to spoil anything for you.
That's okay. I just want to know if Emilia Clarke looks as hot in this one as she did in the first one.
She's not in this one ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because Emilia Clarke comes much later. This is the prequel.
Oh, this is House of Dragon.
Yes.
Never mind. Yeah, never mind.
Yes.
Yeah, I get those.
So she's not even born yet.
Dragon.
This is like hundreds of years before she's
That's
even
why the blonde in this one looked a little different to me, and I thought, wow, that's a great makeup job.
Yeah, this is more Dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Put it up.
Steve is watching.
I'm watching House of the Dragon. It's on Max. Well, it was on Max. They finally had the last episode for season 2.
They mainlined it to HBO.
Yep. So now it's definitely, it's definitely something you can stream. It's out there now. You can watch all 8 episodes if you want. I was watching them weekly, and actually, I have to say, it moved much too slow for me.
Really?
You know how some of those Star Wars movies, that was like too much background.
Right.
Yeah.
There's like too much dialogue. You're just looking for a dragon to eat somebody in half,
Yeah.
burn them alive.
Right.
You're
Right.
looking for the mean guy to go out and just take out a freaking village
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
rape and pillage, right?
Yes.
There was
Yes.
there was very little of that in this.
How disappointing.
Well, because they're built. You can see they're building up the things, right?
Right.
So it's that whole build up where, you know, it's basically where the Targaryens basically are split between Westeros and King's Landing, right? They kind of own the whole world, right? But they're trying to battle for who's going to be the emperor, who's going to be the supreme leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to some of the daughters want it, and then there's some of the brothers are fighting over it, and one gets his eye poked out and goes crazy from that. And there's the older brother who's kind of like contemplating how he can do it, and then he gets haunted by all the past ghosts and stuff. There are some pretty cool dragon scenes where, you know, they're flying through the air and they're like these huge things. And
so they actually got real dragons for this.
Oh yeah, they definitely hatched real dragons for this movie. Yeah,
No CGI here. These are the real
real things.
Yeah.
Yep, you can't touch the eggs because they're on fire.
Throw in a few trolls and a few gnomes, and Klein's on board.
Dude, I'm already on board.
No,
you know that.
there are no trolls and
You
gnomes.
got hot blondes and dragons. I'm all over that shit.
Yeah, everybody's blonde, and they
Everybody's
kind
blonde.
well, they take the angle of like they're bastard children, right? Because these rulers, you know, humped anything that moved, right?
Nothing better than bastard children.
Right. And so like they're trying to get these bastard children to ride these dragons, and some of it works and some of it goes pretty bad. Yeah. So I would say that House of Dragon season 2, not as good as season 1. I thought season 1 was much better. But I'm hopeful that the next 2 seasons, there are 2 more seasons before House of Dragon will be over. I'm hoping that the next one's going to be just a lot of action with a lot of battling. You can see them starting to align other
who's going to get together with who,
right? Who or call me your lord, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be
my lord.
There's going to be a big battle scene coming in season 3.
I have heard a little scuttlebutt around the grocery store. These kids are watching it, and not details, but it's those conversations in passing where I hear like, I wasn't really impressed with, you know, this or that. That's all House of Dragon talk. Yeah, so
that's the way I felt about it.
Apparently, they're not happy with the lack of raping and pillaging. That is.
It just needed more action. Yeah, I need a little bit more action. It doesn't all have to be rape and pillaging, but you know, you have those scenes where it's just murder mayhem because that's the world they live in.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough of that.
No. There you go.
Murder mayhem.
Not enough murder. Not enough mayhem.
Like me.
That's what we like to watch. Right. Thank you for watching the Sports Black and Gold all over the world, live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. That's right, LinkedIn. And of course, we are going to drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. For me, the technical director, the Grand Schwabini, HJ. We love that you're here. Spread it around. We'll see you next week. I am your technical director, and I am mercifully out.
Jump roll!
Man. Woo! Jablonsk.